At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers of this BiG Conclave for arranging such a nice platform in which all the BiG grantees and all the partners and related ecosystems can come together to share their journey. So, a quick introduction about myself. I'm Dr. Anasuya Roy. I'm the founder and CEO of NanoSafe Solutions. As Dr. Vishu said, I completed my master's as well as my PhD from IIT Delhi. And I was also a recipient of this prestigious DAD IIT Master Scholarship Program, in which I carried out my thesis work at University of Stuttgart, Germany. And after completion of my doctoral studies at IIT, I incorporated this startup, NanoSafe Solutions, which is essentially an academic spin-off from the fundamental research work that I was doing at IIT Delhi. Being an academic entrepreneur, I feel it is a tad different from the other type of entrepreneurships. It's kind of selling on two boats of both research and business. And while, research thrives on novelty, on progressive discovery and developments, businesses are more about the feasibility of the product in the market and the consumer buying mentality. And when we are trying to bring both of these aspects together on one ground, considerable challenges may, incur. And, it's very difficult from that standpoint to roll out an innovative solution that must be highly relevant and serviceable to the present market needs. I would like to say that my, force of, or my driving force for incorporating this startup stems from these challenges only. I always felt that my PhD findings should actually be transformed into something useful. In the present crisis, in the present situation, we are facing a huge issue all throughout the global community. And as innovators or academic entrepreneurs, we should be able to contribute a little bit. So that is where my driving passion came from. And I didn't want my PhD thesis to be just a paper-bound volume. So this was my motivation behind incorporation of NanoSafe Solutions. So we are a pretty young startup. We incorporated in 2019 October end, and our revenue actually started generating from May 2020. We are hugely supported by the very supportive ecosystem that IIT and FITT has. And then our core competency, lies in the area of nanotechnology. So as the name of our startup suggests, NanoSafe. So we rely on nanotechnology and how to leverage this very unique technology into building very sustainable and cost-effective antimicrobial materials and systems, which are very relevant to the present market as well. So, if I have to classify our products, so it can be categorized into two segments. So the first one being the consumer or the FMCG segment, in which we have a very relevant product, mask. So universal masking is something that we are all familiar with right now. We have a 50 times reusable mask. So you can wash and reuse the mask for 50 times. It also has an antiviral layer, which will neutralize any virus or microbes which comes in contact with it. Needless to say, this is one mask we have created a huge impact with, and we have demonstrated very high scalability as well. And then, as Dr. Vishu was saying, then we have this first of its kind antimicrobial water bottles. So the platform technology lies from harnessing this active copper. So copper is also an essential micronutrient, but we were able to harness that quality of copper into achieving an antimicrobial solution and then put it in bottles. So if you store water in these bottles, the water will get purified within 30 minutes. Also, the outer surface is also antimicrobial. So we are trying to reduce or carve down the rate of contact transmission by using such technology. And then we have a sanitizer, very different sanitizer from the other sanitizers in the market. It is actually a zero alcohol based sanitizer, which is effective on any part of the body. And it starts working from 20 seconds and goes as long as 24 hours. So that is the range of protection that we were able to achieve with Rapsif sanitizer. And in the industrial segment, we have some raw materials, intermediates, finishing chemicals that we supply to different industries like polymer industry and textile industries as well. If I talk about impact, we have sold a large quantities of this mask to different verticals, which includes hospitals, government organizations, police forces, etc. Currently, we have, we were able to, very fortunate enough to touch all the states of India. But I would say what is our achievement as, we were able to export 30 to 40% of our total production capacity of masks to developed countries, and that too at a time when the whole world facing a pandemic. So masks are a highly technical product, and these kind of this reduces the transmission, or this reduces the contact.
Thank you, thank you, Dr. Ansuya, and we will come back to you in the end of the session to ask more details and to share your experience. This
Sure.
is an excellent example how a academic entrepreneur and with the academic support can go to the market. Thank you very much, and now I request Shilpi to share about IU devices.
Yes, Vishu, thank you so much. So IU Devices is a startup spun out of BiG by IIT Mumbai, incubated at SIIC IIT Bombay. It develops medical devices and technologies for early screening of heart and lung diseases. IU Devices has already launched their product, which is called IU Sync, which is a Bluetooth-enabled digital stethoscope for listening to chest sounds in PPEs and keeping safe distance from the patient for infectious diseases like COVID-19. It also enables amplification, recording, sharing, and analysis of heart and lung sounds. Mr. Adarsha, did his engineering from VIT. He has worked as a software engineer and dean at IIT Bombay and associated with BETIC for last 5 years. This leap from a remote village to providing an excellent product for a pandemic demand is worth noting. I request Dr. Adarsha to share his story, please.
Sure. Thank you very much for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'll give a quick background about me and my motivation to work in the medical device space. So I was born and brought up in a small town in southern part of Karnataka, a place called Chikmagaluru. It's a small district, and many of you might know it's famous for coffee and some trekking as well. So it was a primary health center, and my mother was a nurse there. Because of this, I got a lot of exposure to healthcare problems in small towns. Mainly, if you see, you have one physician for the whole hospital, and a lot of villagers coming from far place. They will, queue up to just to get appointment. Even they will chase to his house even after his OPD finishes, right? And the other thing is, you don't have any specialist doctors like cardiologists or pulmonologists. To give a stat, we have around 4,000 cardiologists in India. Requirement is 88,000 cardiologists. There is a huge gap, and you don't have like equipments like CT, MRI, any of this here. You have to go to around 60 to 80 kilometers to get a simple diagnostic test done. So with all these, a lot of patients get undiagnosed, misdiagnosed, and sometimes leads to complications, sometimes even death. And since I was growing there, I'd seen things happening right in front of my face. But biology was not my interest. I am more of a physics and math kind of a guy. So I chose engineering and I did my engineering. And but this question was there that being an engineer, can you solve these healthcare challenges? But I didn't have any answer at that time. And fortunately, I met Professor B. Ravi at BETIC, and he showed a way that being engineer, you can develop medical device and you can solve these problems. So at BETIC, we met a lot of physicians, top doctors, even medical students, primary physicians as well. When we met, what we understood is that understanding these heart and lung sounds using the stethoscope is very, very skillful. It requires a lot of expertise. And over a period of 10 year or 12 year of experience, you can identify the abnormalities very clearly. That is a problem which we got. And meanwhile, we applied for the big grant, and we got the grant. Once we got it, we formed IU Devices and started working on the proof of concept. And once we did that, we could see that there is good traction in the market. So initially, it was in telemedicine companies who were requiring to capture and capture and send the heart and lung sounds from remote location to a city. And later what happened was that we wanted to really broaden the scope and target all doctors. In India, we have around 10 lakh doctors, which is a good market, right? So when we tried doing that, we got good response. Events like Cardicon, Pedicon, these are conferences, annual conferences of doctors. They're very much happy, to get the recording analysis of these sounds. But that time COVID came, and when COVID came, we were thinking that whether we will be relevant or not, right? And fortunately we reached back to our existing doctors and we asked them that is this relevant. So what they said was that uh, they cannot use the conventional stethoscope in PPEs because the ears are covered, and the conventional earpiece you cannot place it there, right? And even a lot of senior doctors, they said that they have either assistant or a resident who will go near the patient with PPE, and these doctors would like to listen to the sound, keeping safe distance. And when we got these inputs, we started working on making the Bluetooth more robust without any connection drop. And we succeeded in that. And we got very positive review, as well as a lot of doctors started calling us. But again, the problem was that, it was lockdown. Indo-China issue was happening. We couldn't really manufacture device. Many of you in manufacturing will know the difficulties, right? When we started talking to a lot of distributors, they said, if you want to buy 10,000 quantity, we will support. 500, 100, no support. Then at that time, again, BiRAC came into support, and even DST came into support, and through which we are now able to scale up our manufacturing and able to solve the need. So overall, now we are 25 people, have sold more than 2,000 units. And if you see in our company, we have engineers from IIT Bombay with background in electrical, computer science, design backgrounds. And for us, what we are saying is whatever we had learned in our colleges, finally we are able to help the doctors in the fight against COVID-19. In which way, kind of our, we have a purpose and we are fulfilling it. So that is the biggest motivation for us. And all of these are possible without, it's not possible without stakeholders like, BiRAC. BiRAC again works like startup. Even if you can message them at night, they respond, which you don't see in every government agencies, right? So with BiRAC, with Sign, with Venture Center, CCamp, all the ecosystem players really came in hand to help in our growth. So I'm very, very thankful for this, for providing this opportunity, and look forward to hearing the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Adarsha. This is an excellent example of how existing R&D company can step in with their. You already had all the capabilities and digital stethoscope even before the doctors were. I have seen the feedbacks exceptionally good, and you were able to serve during this time. Thank you very much, and we will come back to you. Next, I would like to introduce Dr. Rachana. She's a PhD from microbiology, and she was working in BARC, and she quit her job after 8 years and then started Microgo in 2016. And our relation, IKP and Microgo relation, goes back starting from BIG, ICO Fund, Kavach Program, and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So we know we have been interacting with Microgo very closely, and their aim is safe and save, and all their product lines are on these three lines: keeping life safe and save the natural resources and digital empowerment. And I would request Rachana to elaborate more about Go Assure, Go Pure, Go Fresh, Go Clean, their products. I request Rachana to take over. Rachana, you are on mute. You are on mute. I will share the screen for you. You can speak, and please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Vishu. Thank you, Shilpi ma'am, for your kind introduction. As Vishu rightly mentioned, Microgo, we are based out of Chennai. We were established in 2016. At Microgo, we enable the power of micro swachhta, which is by the prevention technologies, and we work in health, water, food, and air. When we started our journey, our objective was that yes, we will come in, we'll develop products that keep people life safe by prevention technologies. As we started working forward, we realized that what we were trying to do in the prevention area, especially in our country's mindset, and it is an expense, right? Anything that you bring in prevention when there is when there is actual not need, like actual problem not happening, like before COVID start talking hand hygiene, are madam ye to chalta hai iske bina chal jayega, because you can't see, and when you can't see you think it's not there, and that was the problem. So when anything that is considered as an expense, it doesn't actually move, even though it's very important. So while there was the need, we started feeling that how do we bring prevention as a bonus? So we brought in something, and which we also realized later by our customers, that we were actually saving resources. We were saving resources in terms of their cash flow, so which is always the biggest commodity. If we are working in water, we were saving actually water. We were trying to provide micro swachhta in food, we were actually saving food. So somewhere or the other, we were trying to balance that, and that was something that was clicking. Coming to 2019, when we stepped in, we said, okay, save ho gaya. We started realizing that when it comes to prevention, there is a very dire requirement of accountability. There is absolutely not accountability. You can't trace. You can't trace anything which is in prevention. So that's when, by 2019, we tried and build this SSD, which we call it, which is keeping life safe, saving natural resources or resources which could be of cash, and digitalized hygiene. So this is keeping this in mind. We have, based on our platform technologies, we have the following product. GoPure is actually our water disinfection technology based on our platform called Tubelet for domestic water, wastewater, and as well as industrial water. We work from microbiology to biofilm, the entire plethora, including underwater biofilm disinfection in real time. GoAssure is our health platform, especially for hand hygiene. Where the product is called GoAssure. We have two varieties in that, GoAssure Max and GoAssure Lite. GoAssure Max is especially for hospitality industry, where it not only saves 98% of water at each uses, at the same time save resources like paper napkin, power, direct cost, indirect cost. So it's something that hospitality finds is appealing, because otherwise they have to use a big area, a big real estate. Against that, they just can have a small machine. GoAssure Lite is our smaller unit, which assures, both the units though assure good hand hygiene practices, which is 20 seconds of hand hygiene by 6 steps. Go Clean is a surface disinfectant, again based on chlorine dioxide, and Go Fresh is a platform which not only reduces contamination in fruits and vegetables, but also extends the shelf life of the perishable without refrigeration for as long as 8 to 20x at room temperature. So the impact that we have been able to create, especially in the last 9 to 10 months, we have been able to provide 40 lakh hand hygiene, almost 11 lakh of water we have been able to save with GoPure and GoAssure Max. 2 lakh liters of water is something that we have treated only this month. We have been able to bring down the perishable waste, especially fruits and vegetables, from 33% to staggering 33% to 8%. Installations include various airports, Indian Army, public sector units and corporates. And we have been able to cover around 18 states, 35 districts, from Leh Ladakh to Tirupati, from Tejpur, Assam to Bhavnagar. We are actually very privileged to be supported by this great ecosystem that India has, and I'm very proud to actually start the venture during these times, which actually made our work a little easier. From Startup India to BIRAC to DST, ACT grants, IKP, NASCOM, So yes, I'll be happy to answer the questions in the later part of the talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rachna. Okay. So we'll have one quick question for our speakers of the day. For all of you, we'll have one question related to your story. So we'll go with Anastasia first. So Anastasia, you mentioned that your first revenue kicked in May 2020. That was right in middle of that COVID pandemic, and it's great that you were able to have your revenue kicking in at that point of time. So would you like to highlight one aspect, one key challenge, or one point that would have helped you in expanding your revenues, or even right now that you feel would help you a great way taking this product and the innovation forward? Over to you, Anastasia. Can you hear us, Anastasia? Vishu, maybe let's take a question for Adarsha and Rachna first. There seems to be some audio issue with Anastasia.
Oh, perfect. So I will ask Rachna actually, because Microgi is one of the company which we have visited during this pandemic for various ICO fund, Kavach, and various other things. Rachna, during this time you have scaled up unexpected, means like not in any planned way. Starting from a 6 to 7 member team into a 24 member team, and hiring additional space, hiring a. I had so many stories actually when I visited Golden Jubilee Park, that you brought a big container to store your products, and managing those logistics. Please share like how you felt during this time interacting with all the ecosystem partners. The complexities in the logistics you are handling for the entrepreneurs to take lesson.
Yeah. So, 2020 it was a crash course for us. A crash course which actually we were in 2019. We just did a very small seed round to scale up. That was the idea. We were not prepared for scaling up. We were, and as you know, how difficult R&D, manufacturing, sales is all three verticals that you have to take, and we were not ready. We were not ready with scaling up. We had finished our pilots. We had great anchor customers, and we were just trying to scale up. And 2020 happened, and COVID happened. So. So we have something, as I mentioned before, anchor customers. So that's where the first help came in, right? We actually collaborated with them while we were going to airports and trying to install. We didn't have that production capacity. So we collaborated with anchor customers and took it forward. So we collaborated in building those units, try and install it. The cost and everything was shared by us. Then next immediately IKP ICO fund came in, which helped us, in the pre-production stage. Then ACT grants came in; they helped us there. And finally, when we wanted to have that big scale up, that's when the Direct COVID Fund and the DST Kavach fund came in, and this helped us to not only ramp our ramp our production staff, production capacity, and also have a good sales and marketing team, so that we are able to do justice to the products that we have been able to build. And as you rightly mentioned, Golden Jubilee Biotech Park, overnight they turned the cafeteria for us to a packaging facility. We were a 2,000 square feet facility, and we just didn't have much space. And that's when Golden Jubilee Park came in and did the job for us. So, again repeating, it was a crash course for us, where we have actually understood the entire gamut that will take from an ideation stage to reaching to the market, including the logistics and everything.
Perfect.
So,
thank you, Rachna.
thank you.
And if Adarsha, can you hear me?
Yeah, I
Perfect.
can.
Perfect. So I heard about you several times in several different platforms about your inspiration to come into the healthcare system. When this situation came, it must have been very fulfilling to make a product that can not just serve a small population, but the entire India, even global players will be very interested in such a product. And you also mentioned that you received funding support, but more about the problems, like how you are able to navigate these complex logistics, and taking the permissions from the governments and deploying it. Can you share a few lines on those?
Sure. So on the logistics part, since it's a medical device, we could get the necessary permissions to travel. The problem was mainly in getting components, because in India we don't manufacture the high, good capacitors or microcontrollers. So that was a nightmare. Had to follow up with the import customs and all. So that was one big challenge. The other challenge was on the user side. Doctors are not used to, have a digital stethoscope, and even with PPEs, it's not very easy. So a lot of iterations we had to do to make the design and everything to become, usable in a clinical setting, and even in PPEs. So that was the learning on the user side.
Dr. Ansuya, if you are back, can you just prompt me?
Can you hear us now, Anasia?
Yeah,
It looks
please unmute
like
yourself.
okay. So we had a question for you, Anasia. At that time, you were probably not able to hear properly. So what we were trying to gain more from you is the other challenges. One important challenge that you faced, and one thing that you would like that would have helped you expand at a larger scale in this current situation. So if you would like to highlight on this.
I'm not sure if she can hear us. I don't see her on the screen.
Yeah, I think she's facing some internet issues. So maybe she's leaving in. So what do we do?
I will just share what I felt about nanosafe solutions. For me, it's not an answer from my side, but many a times when the academic people come into the entrepreneurship, most of the time they face challenges with logistics and the deployment. But surprisingly, they had all the support, and maybe staying in Delhi and reaching out to various partners in advance helped them, like not just getting the grants is money is only a part of the entire entrepreneurial journey. They had an excellent technical support. So these people are inspiration to the academic people who have inbuilt technologies ready, can reach out to the agencies, and they can deploy their solutions. There is support available throughout, and you just have to reach out.
Anasia is trying to join in, but anyways, we are nearing the close time for the session. So should we thank the panelists, and because we have another session lined up?
Yes, ma'am, right. I think we should thank everybody and then move on to the next session.
Yeah. Do we have Rachna here? I don't see Rachna also. No, it seems to
No,
be
ma'am, she's
some
not
issue.
here.
So great thanks to Anasia, Rachna, and Adarsha. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your journeys. I am sure it helped the budding entrepreneurs, startups, and the key lessons from your journeys were certainly useful to help them navigate this in difficult time. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your journeys. Wish you over to
Thank
you,
you, everyone.
please.
Thank you.